You ever feel like you're not enough and like nothing you do really matters? Everything you achieve is not good enough and feeling like all your work and everything you've done has just been overlooked. And I feel like that when I was a kid hooping, and I feel like that now in my business. And that feeling I've had when I was a kid is part of why I'm here now as a trainer and podcaster instead of probably hooping overseas doing this. So, but today's guest, Coach JR, gets it because she lived this thing too. Right now, she's a performance coach who works with everything from youth to the pros like W and NBA hoopers. She's built the mentorship programs for trainers, and she's creating a training option that really changes lives and not just their bodies. But before all of this, she was similar to me. She was a kid that was hooping and tying their worth to their performance, chasing that D1 dream, chasing that goal of being the Division I hooper, but then crashing hard when things really didn't go as planned. Talking about the depression, the burnout, the feeling like a failure. We share the same story. We share that same pain. But Coach Jess figured something out. She figured out how to grow down instead of trying to grind up. How did she find her worth outside the game and how to build something meaningful when the dream you chase isn't working out like you really thought it would? In this conversation, it's like something I really need to hear when I was a kid, years ago when I was trying to hoop. When I lost myself and thought basketball was really going to be everything for me, but losing it meant I was going to be nothing. So we're diving into the real stuff today, like the mental battles, the pressure to perform, her journey of navigating the tough industry of being a woman. Like strength and conditioning, performance coaching is not easy for a woman. So she dives into that, and she's sharing how she built to learn herself back up when the sports were tearing her down. So if you ever felt like you fail or want to call yourself a failure, you feel like you're starting over, or feel like you're trying to search for something that's bigger and something that has more meaningful than just getting the results. You need to find the strength on the court and off. This episode is for you, man. I got Jess sharing how she turned her pain into her purpose, something bigger than her, and you can do it too. So without further ado, let's get into this blueprint. Oh man, I can't. I'm talking to the coach. Like this is like I've been told that you're probably one of the best performance coaches in the game. So
Well, that means a lot. I'm humbled for sure.
how does it feel to get like hear that title though? Like, because a lot of work that's gone into it. You've been doing it for, like you said, 10 years. So how does it feel to know that uh, someone feels that way about you and what you've been doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously like it's great, but I always am a big believer that you got to stay humble, you got to stay even keel, right? Like even, when you're getting the praises and all that cuz you're always going to be in spots where you're not and where you're getting rejected and where you're getting a lot of no's. So just like being tunnel vision about that a little bit and not trying to rely too much on those dopamine hits and that type of stuff. But it's good from the aspect that because for so many years my effort was kind of invisible. My effort didn't really show. It was kind of just stagnant a lot, despite the effort that I was putting in. So for it to actually pay off, or starting to pay off in the ways that I've always dreamed of, is great. But when you get there, there's always another goal. There's always more to do. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I've achieved a lot of the things that I have always wanted to achieve, and now it's new goals, new things, and continuing to right now instead of trying to grow up, I'm really trying to grow down, and just expand, just becoming a better human being and a better person.
What do you mean by that? Grow down.
Yeah, so I got it from I'm a big fan of Russ and his music. I really relate to him a lot. And so he had a quote and it was something about growing down. And so a lot of us are always trying to grow up. We're trying to get the next best thing, the next opportunity. We're trying to increase our status, increase our bank account, increase our like whatever it is. Like we're trying to just constantly grow up. But then we start to lose ourselves and we realize like when we get there, it doesn't give us the things that we actually want. Right. Like I thought that these opportunities would give me happiness and success and fulfillment and worth and confidence. And when I got to these opportunities, right, it was temporary, it was fleeting. And I'm back to square one. So I'm now trying to think, okay, it's not more opportunities. It's now let me grow down on myself. And let me really work on myself personally and figure out why I'm here and why I want to do what I want to do and what's going to make me happy and how can I make the most impact regardless of, the external stuff.
Mm. It's so, like being a peer and I study a lot of different, success stories and stuff. You hear people talk about, oh, I reached certain heights and it meant nothing. It's like almost vanity at this point. And it's kind of crazy because like I see the stuff you've done. I'm like, dang, that does sound fire. Like every trainer is like, oh, I want to train pros. All of us.
Yeah.
We all want to do that. And then for you to be a part of Unrivaled and the inaugural, like the first season of it, that's historical, groundbreaking thing. There's no telling what it'll be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years to know that
Right.
I was a part of that first season and, doing this full time. Like you just like the different milestones that we all kind of dream of having. You have that. And for you to be like, let me grow down now. That's kind of just like on one hand, the rich person talking about money means nothing, but it's easy for you to say that because you have it. When did you start to adopt this mindset though of being like, let me grow down and let me change my mindset about
After I had accomplished what I had accomplished, like,
it?
honestly, like, I was very stubborn in the fact, like, you hear it all the time, and I
Mhm,
understand the place that most people are at, that haven't accomplished the thing or haven't gotten into the rooms that they wanna get into, and I was very stubborn about it, right? I set out when I was 18 years old. My first job was mopping floors and cleaning a gym. I said I wanted to work with the best athletes in the world. I wanted to work with the best. And then it simplified to like, I wanted to work with the best WNBA and NBA players in the world. And I got these opportunities. But it was not overnight. It was through 10 years of just
mhm,
grinding. And honestly, like, to be honest, it was a lot of it was just losing myself in the process, because I was constantly chasing, so I was never satisfied by the little wins that, I had along the way, and so I was stubborn about it. I was like, "No, let me I'm reading all this and I'm hearing all this, but, like, no, I'll prove you wrong." And so that's where my stubbornness comes in and my ego came in, where instead of seeing the dream as the journey, I saw the dream as the destination, and
mhm,
so when I got these opportunities, I'm incredibly grateful for these opportunities. It's what I've worked for. Like, it doesn't take away from that of
mhm,
everything that I'm blessed and grateful to be able to do through my hard work. Like, I put in a lot of work. There's a lot of behind the scenes that no one has ever seen, despite my small circle support system, just like everyone's journey. Like, you don't see the things, you only see the highlights on the social media, but no one sees the journey of how I got there, and what I had to go through and the rejection I had to go through, the pain I had to go through, the nights where I wasn't making any money, for a very long period of time, the nights where I was just training kids for free just to try to get clients, or being an unpaid coach. Like, no one saw that, or, opportunities that were supposed to come about didn't come about, or promises that were made weren't given back. So I'm incredibly grateful for it, but obviously it doesn't take away from like how I got there. Um, and I'm blessed to be able to have that type of influence, but it also like now I'm trying to teach other people to not make the same mistakes that I did, and that like no opportunity and no amount of money is actually going to like make you happy long term, right? You're going to have this like, obviously, like, 20, 30 minutes, like, when you win the championship, like, how you feel, but then it's just back to work.
yeah,
So that mindset shift happened after I got these opportunities and I realized the reality. So that's why it's really important for me to not just teach the knowledge and the programming and all that stuff and the work, but also to teach the reality of being in that space. And it's not all glitz and glamour as it may seem. When you find good people, and you will, like, it's great. Like, I worked with a lot of great people, over my years, athletes, coaches, people, bosses. Like, I had a lot of great people and a lot of great mentors, but we can't be, like, blind to the fact that there are a lot of not so great people, in this industry too, in every industry. It's part of it.
you said you lost yourself in the process too. Was that was it you trying to sacrifice to get to that goal, or was it you kind of shortcut, I guess you can say, and kind of trying to cheat the grind and hustle of it? Like, what did it mean when you said you kinda lost
Yeah,
yourself?
definitely not cheating the grind at all, and that no shortcuts. I knew it was gonna take a long period of time. I think where I lost myself is I was just constantly chasing validation, and constantly
Mm,
chasing that. I was thinking that by me accomplishing this and me getting these things, that inside I would feel certain things.
Mhm.
But it actually had nothing to do with that. So it's like now, like I said, I'm growing down or trying to. Everyone's always a work in progress. I'm not perfect. Um, I'm in this industry for a very specific reason and a very specific purpose. And why I do what I want to do is clear to me, but sometimes it can get lost as you're trying to chase these things and chase the cloud and compare yourself to other people or other trainers. We all fall into that pattern sometimes
Mhm.
rather than focusing on our own journey um, and really staying true to our purpose. So it's like I always had that purpose of why I got into this. And then, you just have these certain goals, just like an athlete, like that you learn from your identity becomes that. Just like when I was playing, my identity was me being an athlete, not me as a person. And what I bring to the table as a person, if you take away everything else. And so just falling into those patterns and just like, you know, kind of losing yourself over time in terms of that. Um, and like letting it affect like your day to day and how you feel about yourself and like where you're currently at, where your feet are, your current relationships, like that type of stuff.
Yeah. You sound like me now because it's just like to figure yourself out in the middle of this business and the industry feels crazy sometimes because
I've been there, still there, still there. Like
like on
everything that
one
I've
hand,
accomplished, like I'm still going through the mud. Like I'm still
mhm,
going through like ups and downs. It's not always high all the time. Um
yeah,
Like, I kinda told you before we got on this podcast, like, I'm doing so many different things, and I've done so many different things, and so many things that I thought would work out haven't worked out.
mhm,
It's part of it, so I think I just wanna be that representation that obviously success doesn't happen overnight, but you gotta keep pushing, you can't give up, those type of things. I wanna help, young female strength conditioning coaches, let alone just young strength conditioning coaches. Um, I wanna help them struggle a little bit less and help them on that side because, it's so much more than just, like training athletes, like, there's so much more to this industry than
mhm,
just that.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the piece that I feel like, not to be corny and cliche, but separates a lot of people just because like I had to realize that with like I knew it, but being fully aware and grasping it is like my thing now. So it's cool. Like I love training. I love doing it. But at the end of the day, like I realized I don't want to treat it like a business. I really want to treat it like my training is a mentorship and I'm really here
Yeah,
to invest to the players.
yeah,
And
yep,
so I had to flip that switch and realize that. So I'm like, okay, the business model got to look totally different now. Because I never wanted to have the big gym and have thousands of kids. I never wanted that. Like I'm an introvert. Give me a handful
yeah,
of kids, rock with them, see them develop and grow, and I'm good. And so like the business side gets weird because it's like you either have to, like, you have to go high scale, train 5 kids, but then you're pricing out 95% of kids or to be super cheap. And you have to train thousands of kids. So it's like, okay, I can't go either of those routes. What is the work does it look like now? And so
I
then you
get
play
it.
the game with trying to figure out how to get kids and how you do this. It's a crazy mess. So like trying to figure that out on top of mentors being like, oh, not mentors, but like people you're looking up to and saying, this is how you're doing this, how you got to run things. In the middle of that, trying not to lose yourself, like you said, of like the highs and the lows, it's a lot.
It's a
So,
lot. I get it, and that's why, like, these conversations are important because like, what we are seeing are the highlights,
mhm,
um, and what you're even seeing on my Instagram, I try to, show the reality of stuff, but then, like, I am gonna showcase the work that I've put in and that I've earned to be able to showcase, but I think I'm now in the fact of, like, like I said, let me grow down and let me actually,
mhm,
like, teach people the reality of it and how to navigate the private sector side because I have more experience there. I have a little bit of experience on the team side, obviously, with unrivaled and like college internships. But what am I really good at? And like, what are my strengths? And that's what I'm doing right now. I've changed my business model so much. I think that's also like another thing that I'm trying to help is like just you really have to believe in your product and whatever is going to make you the happiest and what gets you up in the morning and what keeps you up late and what energizes you. For me, that's not sets and reps and programming, right? It's not drills for you. It's not just putting kids through random workouts that we're seeing. Like, it's genuinely about the journey and the process of taking a kid that's, like, not seen and not on the radar and, like, being a small part of their journey, which means that my offer needs to, from a business side, needs to, like, make sense for all the energy
Mhm.
that I'm gonna be putting into this kid and time, and this athlete has to be committed, right? So I've gone through the, like you said, like, just training a bunch of kids, like, I own my own gym, I was constantly chasing clients. It might work for some people, it just didn't work for me. Like, I tried everything. And so you have to go through that. You do have to try it and you do have to, I don't see it as failing, but you gotta, like, learn the lessons from those things. And, like, after all the experiences, you can figure out, "Okay, this is what I wanna do. I need to believe in this product." And so, yeah, I'm more high ticket side now. Resume, but also, like, you don't have to have the resume to be high ticket, right?
Yeah.
You just need one person. You need one person that buys into what you do, and you just showcase it, and you get testimonials, you get proof, and you get word of mouth, and you build your clients and things like that. And it's not as easy as it sounds, but I've gone more that route so that I can impact the way that I want to impact. Because you know, like, in the skills training, in the performance, you may see these kids like once a week. Like, what is that going to do? It's not going to do anything, right? I just made a post today, like, the work ethic and, like, working hard is not the issue. It's a plan, it's clarity, it's mentorship, it's the other 22 hours of outside of the training. It's
Mhm.
clear direction, it's a clear timeline and a clear path. And so if I want to sell that, then of course it's going to be it's going to be an investment, but imagine what these kids can now get, right? They can
Mhm.
have more opportunities, they can stay available, they can, get achieve their dreams at getting to the college level or a pro contract or extending their pro contract. So whoever my athlete is or whoever I'm working with, I'm able to make that offer make sense to them. But they have to be bought into it because I'm bought into it. And I've worked with plenty of athletes at the professional level too that are like, aren't putting in the work and don't, I've experienced that where those athletes aren't showing up to every single workout or they're showing up late or all this stuff. Like, I want athletes that are committed to the process and committed and believe in the process. And that's going to take time. So yeah.
Do you think that of course, the landscape has changed a lot in your field mainly, just in terms of, you know, 20 years ago, it was like, "Psh, what? Weights for what?" You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about that. Then 10 years ago, it's kinda like, "Oh, we kinda need it because LeBron James has been playing however long it was at that point, and he
Yeah.
attributes all that to that." And then nowadays, it's like, I think there's a good understanding, but from your point of view, do you think we fully grasp and understand the weight and importance of it, or is it still kind of like a bastardized version of like, "Oh, you gotta get jacked or you gotta do this," and it's like you're seeing kids going CrossFit or you see kids doing all the other crazy stuff because in their mind, I have to train and work out. So you think it's still like, are we in a healthier spot now, or we still kind of have a long way to go in terms of the thought process and education around it?
Yeah, I think we're in a time where there's just so much information out there, like, and there's so much conflicting information out there, that there's a lot of struggle on, like, what's right to do or what's right for my kid or things like that. I think we do fall into, like, oh, like, my athlete just needs to train, and
Mhm,
so it ends up just becoming sweat workouts and we're not actually getting results. Um Parent or people, athletes, parents, whoever, like, the whoever you're working with, like, understanding the long-term goal and the long-term process and the longevity of this, rather than the short-term gain. So you may be really good in high school, but that does not mean you're gonna be good in college. You may be good in college, but it does not mean, like, are you setting yourself up? Because, like, every kid thinks that, we all, like, everything is instantaneous now, right? I could call an Uber and, like, have them drive me somewhere. I could, get an Uber right now as we're talking and get some food. Like, everything is Amazon. Like, everything is just so quick and instantaneous. So we kinda have that viewpoint, like, when we're going through the different stages of our career. And so, like, we may be good in high school and we're getting all this clout and we're getting all this attention, right? And we're getting these dopamine hits, but then, we think that that's going to translate to the next level. And
mhm,
so that's, I think, a huge issue is, like, we're not seeing the long-term game. We're not seeing, like, I call it, like, the Steph Curry effect, or you just brought up LeBron, like, investing in this stuff now because we want to create the highest ceiling possible so that as we decline, which we're naturally going to decline because of age, right? We're going to get older at some point, right? We're going to have a higher ceiling to work from than someone who hasn't invested in that. You're seeing a lot of injuries happen. There's so many reasons why injuries happen. It's not just because of this, but a lot of it is because they weren't lifting in high school and then they started lifting in college and like their body just didn't catch up yet. And so they didn't put those years in before. So I think a lot of athletes are sometimes just don't see it, are impatient. A lot of coaches don't see the importance of it because in basketball, and for a long time in basketball, you were able to get away with it with talent. Like if you were talented enough, you could get away with it. Now we're seeing with like college kids now coming back to the or like, overseas and NBA like are coming back to college, and we're seeing how hard it is to get recruited, and we're seeing how the transfer portal, like all that stuff. So it's definitely like, okay, we're seeing a little bit more importance of like you got to be physically there. But I think sometimes maybe athletes get so caught up in the moment that they're in,
Yeah.
that they're not thinking like, okay, just because I'm good now, like let me humble myself and let me do the things that I need to do to get better and be sustainable, right? Best ability is availability, right? So it's who can stay available to play and get opportunities and stuff.
Yeah. I think that's the piece that I think we have to do a better job of communicating, because if you can think about it through that lens of like, not just selfishly as me, I want to get you better for my highlights and my highlight reel to say, look, I got this player X, Y, and Z. But from
Right.
their point of view of saying, hey, I don't care if you don't play college ball or pro, whatever, just
Yeah.
long term in terms of your game. You want to make it through high school, right? You're a freshman or eighth grade, you make it through high school, you do X, Y, and Z. Or you are in college. You
Yeah.
want to go pro, but there's no guarantee. So what can we do long term? And I think
Yeah.
we start taking that point of view versus the instant gratification of, okay, you can go through this Pilates class and do this, or you can go through this CrossFit, you can go through this and that. And we're thinking about it being a year or two games, but it's messing you up. So how do you kind of talk to your parents or the players about like the benefits and pros or cons of like understanding how to train basically?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that the resume that I've been able to build is just a natural buy-in, and that's going to come with work over time. Like we all have proof, we all have testimonials in some sort of aspect. When I was first starting out in the industry, I didn't have anyone. Like I had to get my first athlete, and so I was the testimonial. I was the proof. Parents started to see me working out and like wanted their daughters at the time to come work out with me. So if you're in that spot, like you can be the testimonial, and you can be the proof. I think that able to I think I'm still relatable to certain athletes too. Like I'm still training like an athlete. I still put myself through skills training, or if I am training boxers like or a different sport like that I didn't play or compete in, like I'm doing that sport on the side so they see it. Like I just got a new boxing client because they saw me doing boxing, even though I'm new to training boxers. So it's just like that's a piece of buy-in that's going to help, whether it's you yourself or just taking one person and just showcasing that. But I think I'm able to talk in the language that makes sense to the parent. I'm able to like I am not the smartest person in the room like at all in this industry, like not even close. Like there are so many other smarter people than me, 100%. But I think I'm able to communicate in the same language that makes sense to the parent or the coach or the athlete. So I'm able to whatever, like basically not like simplify it, not dumb it down, but I'm able to break it down and simplify it of, hey, this is what I've learned from training these athletes. And you remind me of these athletes that I've trained. And then this is our plan of how to get there. I'm connected to coaches in, the space in the NCAA at the pro level. I'm connected to the straight. So it's like I'm able to take those experiences and those relationships and kind of like reverse engineer of how it's going to make sense to the athlete. Um, and so that's definitely I would say a big thing of I'm able to communicate like doing this is going to help with this from a way that makes sense with them. They don't care about a lot of them don't care about like I want to get my numbers up or like I want to lift more or like I want to, all the technical terms of exercise science. They want to know how it helps their game. Um and just honestly just showcasing my work. So yeah, yeah. Um and word of mouth, right? Building word of mouth is going to be really key, right? The persuasion becomes a little bit less when you have some word of mouth there. But I think that's probably there's a lot of things, but that's the main thing is that I'm just able to communicate in the same language.
I think you have an interesting story because you talked about being able to connect and relate to the players. Your story is very interesting of how, because I think it's similar to mine too. Of like, okay, I played, but picking up on everything I failed on as a player, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh man, like
Yeah.
if I just knew this, if I had this training, if I had this aspect, whole total different person right now. I don't even know if I'd be doing it. I'd probably be overseas somewhere trying to figure it out over
I
there,
know.
And
Same.
so
Yeah.
I think that's the key piece that drives you a little bit differently. You know what I mean? Because when you see yourself in a player, it's like, oh man, I gotta help you. Like I will almost train you for free because I know what you're dealing with right now. It hits a little bit different. I'm not training you for free, but my my heart moves towards you a little
Yeah.
bit differently.
Like I see your potential. I don't know, these kids just need especially the younger they are, and honestly the older that they are. So like the pro athletes, like if you think about that, the college, the pro, the high level recruits or whatever it is,
Yeah.
um, they're getting taken from all the time. People just want to take advantage. They want to use them for their clout. They want to like all that stuff. It's more like for a selfish reason rather than a selfless reason of why we're helping them and things like that. And so I just take the opposite. Let me give to this athlete because they're just always getting taken from. And then at the younger level, like these athletes are unseen. They're not on the radar, but they have this dream of making it to the next level. It was my story. Like I worked incredibly hard. First one in the gym, last to leave. Like work ethic was not an issue for me. It was direction. I had a great support system. Some people don't, but like I had the support system, but I didn't have the support system in the business side and the recruiting side and the navigating side, where skill was only so much for me. So I like these kids just want someone in their corner. They just want
Mhm.
someone to believe in them, just like we all do. I mean, it's a natural human being response to like want to belong to something. That's what we're designed for community and belonging, and feeling seen, right? And so that's just what I try to be with these athletes is I and it, some buy in, some don't. Like I don't work with everyone. I can't physically work with everyone. I want to impact, as many people as I can, but like there has to be a give and take. But I just am I think like I become part of their support system and their circle and I just try to give and don't necessarily ask for anything in return. And when I do ask for something in return, like, hey, can I post our workouts or hey, can I do you have any referrals or anything like that? I'm able to ask because I've given and I've gotten them results. Whoever it is, youth all the way up to professional.
Yeah. Talk to me about young Jess. Like she was hooping, she was doing her thing. What were like the strengths? Like, oh, I know I can hoop. I can do this thing right here. But then at the same time, I know you talked about how like physically you didn't have all the gifts in the gyms and everything.
Yeah.
But then like the mental side too, because I heard you talked about how you dealt with depression and the body
Yep.
image and stuff. So
Yep.
help me understand like young Jess. What was she dealing with?
Yeah. Young Jess was very tenacious, very hardworking. Like I said, first one in the gym, last one to leave. Small town, you know, humbly was one of the better athletes. I grew up with two brothers. I grew up playing outside, kick the can, cops and robbers, like tag, like all that stuff, like outside before technology was like a thing. I think like we just had like a GameCube, like that was the only thing that ever existed. And I'm not even that old, but like it's just crazy how it's changed. So we were always outside. So I just developed that natural athleticism that a lot of these kids are missing because they're sitting and they're playing video games and watching TV all the time. Um, and so I had like this natural, like competitive drive. And then just this natural, like I call it just movement bandwidth, like throw me in any sport and I could do pretty well besides like golf and like probably like softball or baseball at that point. It had to be like coach's pitch. But like as soon as they started to like wind up, it was just I couldn't get it. But outside of that, throw me in any sport and I could be pretty good at it. And so I had the goal of, unfortunately, I had the D1 or die goal of like I wanted to make it to Division 1 and nothing else. I was not going to be satisfied with anything else. Decided to just kind of focus on basketball. That's where I always like gravitated towards. But I don't think I put myself in the environments for me to be uncomfortable. I always wanted to be the best in the room because my identity was around feeling seen and feeling worthy, was tied to athletics. So how I did athletically and how I performed was tied to my worth, unfortunately. So I was uncomfortable putting myself in scenarios where I could get my butt a little bit kicked or I wasn't the best in the room. And that's a huge mistake that I made. Looking back now, I wish I would have stepped outside my comfort zone and played with better people. And I did a little bit, but just not enough. And so that was the big thing. And then because of that, because my effort wasn't paying off in the results that I wanted or that I believed that would fix everything from the mental side for me, I started to struggle with depression and burnout, and just like didn't pick up a basketball for 5 years, struggled with, anxiety, depression, eating disorder, like all that stuff in my high school, like senior year of high school, and just completely lost my identity because it was my worth was so tied to basketball at the time. Unfortunately, I instead of playing basketball, let me tie my identity to being a performance coach. So if I can't get there, let me help other people get there. And so my identity was tied to that. And so I started to burn out, go through more depression, hit the lows, hit rock bottom, all that stuff in the early beginning stages of my career. But when I look back, it's really funny because the irony is I chose one of the hardest industries to be accepted in because I'm a young female strength and conditioning coach in a very male dominated industry. So when I think about that, I'm like, no, there's so much, I'm in this for a reason. Like my worth isn't tied or my job isn't tied to my identity, but you fall sometimes in those patterns. So yeah, that was a little bit about young Jess. And then at 23 years old, I wanted to open up my own facility and gym. And that's kind of what I did. I wanted to help athletes struggle a little bit less. I was like, I didn't have the best high school experience. So let me be a coach and at least get in the door of helping these young females have a better experience than I did on the basketball side of things. And just be there for them. And that's kind of, that's everything follows.
Mm. So, as a player, what was that lowest moment for you? Like when you say you went through depression and everything, what did it hit when you were just like, all right, this is rock bottom for me?
As an athlete,
Yeah.
yeah, we had just come off of my junior year, just come off of a state championship run. We lost in the final, but we were never supposed to be there. Like we were this small town outside of Maryland, like outside of DC. We were like an hour outside of DC, small town. Made it to states. Played at, I think it was UMBC or something. Like the boys got to play at Maryland. Like it was always your goal to like play at Maryland. And they used to have the tournament there, but we got UMBC anyways. And so you come off of a really big high. I was a starter at that point for the varsity team. Junior year, like I had a great lefty jump shot. That's all I had. Unfortunately, I wish I would have developed some other skills, but I had a jump shot and that's kind of what I was known for. And we had just come off of a run and then I'm going into my AAU season junior year. And that's a big recruiting year. Now kids are getting recruited way earlier, but for the time that I was in, but unfortunately I chose an AAU team that didn't have the exposure that like I was wanting. So I was getting a lot of D2 and D3 exposures, but I wasn't getting that D1. And so that's where it's like, I didn't take that momentum I had built and like, let me find ways to put myself in a position where I may not be a starter. I may be a role player, but at least I'm going to get better. I'm going to get the exposure and meet the right people. Because it's all about people, right? Sometimes when you don't necessarily have, like, you're not the top recruit or the top talent, it's going to be people in your circle or people that know you that can, help you get to where you want to go. And so I didn't do that. So I had all this momentum. And then just that AAU season, I kind of just, boom. And then senior year, we, like, lost a lot of our great players from our junior, like, a lot of my teammates were seniors when we got to the championship or the states, and then they graduated, they left, and so our team was trash. We were like 0-15 in the conference, like we were awful. And so it just like naturally you're just like, this isn't going at all how I'd expected based off of like the high that I had with states and like thinking that I did have a chance at D1. And it's not to say that I didn't. I just like, again, there's more factors than just hard work. And also physically, like you mentioned that physically had a jump shot, had really good IQ, like point guard, multi-sport athlete. So I was just like average, but I didn't have like an explosive first step or a big vertical or any of that stuff. And I think that stuff matters. I think the performance side, like a lot of the times that athletes aren't able to perform like stat wise in the way that they want to, it could be skill, but it also could be, performance, right? Like if an athlete is having trouble finishing at the rim and we keep adding more moves, it might not be the moves. It might be because they're not strong at all and they need to embrace contact, or like I can't get my jump shot off of the dribble or off of the move. It may not be, again, it might not be a skill thing. It might be a physical limiter. You can't create enough separation. You can't put enough force into the ground and create enough separation to get your shot off, to get the opportunity to make more points. So it's things like that I think that's what I'm trying to teach. Like adding that side and it's a holistic approach rather than just hard work.
Mm. So senior year was kind of like the downward slope of things for you. Like it's like, okay, we're losing chances from beginning D1, probably going down the drain. And from there, it just like went down the toilet bowl from you.
Crumbled.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what were like the next couple of years like? Like, how did you kind of pivot from that? Like, what was the next move for you?
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be in the fitness industry. I did, obviously, I loved working out. I loved working hard. I loved lifting weights. Like I took like a gym class in high school, and then I started to like love just, the grind and like working out in that way. And so I always wanted to be in fitness. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So from senior year of high school, like stepping away from the game, I don't think I touched a basketball for like 5 years at that point. Until I got back into coaching, which was like 4 years later. So I went to school and I thought, okay, if I go to this big school, or this well-known school, like, it was like a linear progression. Like, let me go to school, let me graduate, let me get a job, let me have a family, let me have kids. And as you know, like none of that happened. I get to University of Delaware. I originally want to go into athletic training. I want to be the one running out on the field. And like helping the guy on the football field that got hurt on the basketball court who got hurt, he or she. And I go into athletic training, and thank God for University of Delaware, they put you right into the program. Like there's 120 kids and it goes down to 40 within this 6-month time period. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be one of those 40 that's going to stay in the program. Like, blah, blah. Like I leave after 2 weeks because I was like, this is nothing what I thought it was going to be. So I was just that mindset was ingrained into me, like that it's just going to be a linear process, and it's not at all. I end up transferring, or I stay at University of Delaware. I always give things full seasons. So let me give it a full year. Let me not quit. Let me give it a full year, full 4 seasons, and then pivot if I want to. So I gave University of Delaware a year, but I changed my major 4 times at University of Delaware. It was all within the fitness industry, but I went from like athletic training to exercise science to behavioral health science, back to exercise science. And then I was like, you know what? Let me start getting into this industry. Let me start working. So I actually transfer, and I was dealing with a lot mentally, but let me transfer back home, commute from home to just a local school that no one's ever heard of. Let me get my degree because now I want to be a strength conditioning coach at the collegiate level. That's what I like. That's my next thing that I want to do. I liked that world. Let me do that. And so that's why I think I got an advantage in this industry, is because I started when I was 18. I was commuting to just a local school, getting my kinesiology exercise science degree. And I was working at a CrossFit gym while also being an unpaid assistant coach at my old high school.
Mhm.
And so that's how I was able to get like immediate clients and things like that. Because I went back into coaching. And so that's a great way if you like have no idea how to get clients, get into coaching. Um, but yeah, that's that's a little bit of a rant, but that's a little bit of like how I kind of got into this. But yeah.
Mm. So with the move back home, is that where the depression and everything hit again?
It was before that. I had struggled with, like, depression and an eating disorder in high school, kinda when, like, the D1 or die
Mm.
dreams, like, it was dying, so
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
kinda fell into a slump because my worth had always been tied to sports, and it had been tied to my performance in sports and the outcomes, and so when that wasn't happening anymore, when you're 0 and 15, you're not playing well, um, you just you go down. So it definitely was there, and then obviously was struggling with it a little bit in college and stuff, just trying to figure out where I fit in, what's next for me. And then I always say like I don't train my athletes like CrossFit anymore, but CrossFit at the time did I believe like it in a way, it sounds cliche, but it did save me in a way. Because it got me back up to, what I'm passionate about again. And then I just kept pivoting from there. When I got hurt during CrossFit. I pulled out my L5S1, which stopped me from being an athlete because I like
Mhm.
wanted to compete in CrossFit. At the time, I was like, I'm gonna be a CrossFit athlete now. And it's like, okay. So now I don't do that, but it was something that pulled me out of it. And so you're gonna have different things that pull you out of different slumps, whether it's people or opportunities or things or just change. And so yeah, that's what I ended up doing. It kind of pulled me out of it. And then, I got hurt. And then I was like, okay, what's next? And that's when I started to get into more of this strength conditioning space. Let me help athletes so they don't get hurt. And then it obviously, um, it kept going into more of my purpose.
Mm. There's a thing like with when people dealing with depression, they struggle of like taking the next step and moving on and pivoting. So with you dealing with that, how did you kind of find that the strength, I guess you can say, to keep trying to figure it out, to keep pivoting, and to know that that was your thing? Like I know you said you like fitness, but there's a person over there that's dealing with depression that likes drawing and art, but they doesn't know what capacity to make it be within. So how'd you kind
Yeah.
of find the strength to figure out, to keep figuring out, to keep going and keep moving?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, I still don't have it all figured out. I'm not like, I
Mhm.
don't think we're always on this journey of healing and like I said, growing down and figuring and things resurface in our life, and we gotta continue to work on ourselves personally. So do not have it figured out. I think there's 2 different things. One is, like, your support system. I really do believe you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So who are you surrounding yourself with from a personal side, and then who are you surrounding yourself with on the professional side? Even, like, athletes, like, who are you surrounding yourself athlete-wise? And are they making you better? Are they helping you build qualities that, you don't have or that you admire to have? So that's one thing is a huge support system. Family wise, I had a great support system, right? May have not understood the athletic space and like my job. Because again, we come from a generation of like, you go to school, you get a job, you graduate, like all that stuff.
Yep.
You make this amount of money, you have kids, you have a family. I think now, especially this generation, but I think it started with my generation. I don't know, like the millennials or whatever. Um, is like this idea of entrepreneurship and like this
Mhm.
idea of I have freedom to make money and do things that I want to do, which wasn't always the freedom for like my parents and their parents before. Um, and so like that was definitely you're dealing with that. And I'm on a rant and I completely forgot your question. I'm trying to remember it. This is my problem. I get into something and then I completely forget about it. Remind me of what the question. Oh, how did I pull myself out of it? Got it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So support system is obviously huge. I break it down in professionally, like professionally meaning if you don't know that person, right? Who do you look up to? There's so many people on social media on the personal side that I look up to that have
Mhm.
nothing to do with the strength conditioning space. I just mentioned like Russ. Russ has no idea who I am. I'm never going to meet him in my life, but he's a huge inspiration to me. Because like I relate to his music and what he's saying, and he's in a completely different industry, but it's relatable. So who do you find people that are relatable to you that you may not know or they may not know you that can help you pull out of it, right? We have role models and mentors that help us. So definitely support system. And then I don't know, I always just had this like even though it was dark, like there was always just this little light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. I just have always been pulled that way. Where
Mm,
it's like it feels really low and you feel like you hit rock bottom and you don't know how to get out of it. But you just figure out the how along the way. But I don't know. I always believe it has to get better at some point. It can't rain forever. That's I don't know, I just always had that no matter how low it got, for me, to where, like, I, like, struggle with depression, I struggle with an eating disorder, I struggle with suicidal thoughts, like, all that stuff. There was just always something pulling me that wouldn't let me go type thing. And then also, like, wouldn't be here without, my support system, my parents, my friends, from, like, the personal side.
So it got that bad you were contemplating suicide.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I've dealt with all of it. But absolutely, yeah, especially high school and college years, it was pretty rough. I have built a lot of emotional and mental armor, through this industry and over time, and I've learned how to cope with those things a little bit better. But at the time, like at that time, I didn't at all. A lot of it was people that you know like I said, personally, like your 5 people that you surround yourself with, that kept me going, people that check in on you. And then it was also just and my parents and family and brothers and siblings and all that. But it was also like at the end of the day, it had to be me that needed to change. And so that's why I my identity was tied to things instead of tied to
Mhm.
like who I am as a person. And it took time for me at least.
Mm. So did you ever get to a point where you had to go to therapy or anything for it?
Yeah, I mean, I did all that. For me, I didn't have a lot of good experiences with therapists.
Mhm.
So because I'm very stubborn, I have a very hard time asking for help. That's something that a skill that I've had to learn is like if you don't know something, ask for help. But
Mm,
the environment that I grew up in, it was like you had to know everything. And so that's kinda it all kinda ties back to, like, childhood and, like, growing up and things like that and things that you were conditioned to learn and just how your brain is wired. Um, and so, yeah, that definitely was I definitely struggled with that, asking for help. So, yeah, I did a little bit, but it's kind of figuring out, like, what helps you. Like, everyone's gonna have a different way of coping. Everyone has a different like everyone like no one is the same person, and so I just have found things that help me pull out of it, but what works for me may not work for you, and what may work for someone like therapy and talking about it, for me, unless I found someone that I could relate to or that had
mm,
understood what I had been through. um and my mom also was kind of she's a therapist too, she's a mental health therapist, so we have a lot of conversations all the time. But then
mm,
I just try to like you almost get therapy from your friends. I probably owe them a lot of money at this point
mhm,
because of all my venting. I joke with them all the time that, just send me the bill. So I just really try to find people that like are in positions that I want to be in or have the mindset qualities and how they uphold themselves. I just try to surround myself with those people and that becomes my therapy. And just finding different ways to not necessarily distractions but at least step away so things don't feel so overwhelming. Whether that's art like you said, whether that's music, whether that's working out, whether that's is talking, venting and talking to a therapist, whatever it looks like for you. It's kind of a journey
mhm.
of figuring that out.
Yeah. I think people need to hear that too, because especially in this era where mental health is being talked about more, and it's not the right word. I'm trying to find a more gentler word. Kind of get bullied into therapy, I guess you can say, of
Of
like,
course.
you need to go
Yeah.
to therapy because it's going to help you out. But it's like, there's a group of people that definitely will help, need to see it and everything. But sometimes life can be therapy of just fixing the environment or how you handle stuff. And so I think we need to hear the full picture of it. And so you sharing that can help somebody else out to know, like, oh, okay, maybe I don't need therapy. Maybe I just need to talk to my mom about it. And maybe just getting it off my chest or getting it out my head can help. Maybe journaling can just help. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
yeah.
Agreed. I'm always a big believer. Like if you want to change your life and you want to change the thoughts, you got to change the behaviors. You got to change your behaviors and not keep going through. Like I'm and just self awareness. Like at first, I wasn't self aware of the things that I was doing, and now I'm very self aware by growing down. I'm very self aware when things are okay. I need to change it up. Yeah, right. Like when you stay up too late too many times. Like I want to get up early, but I
Hmm.
keep going to bed at like midnight. And so let me change what I'm doing. Let me change my behavior so that I can change the outcomes and I can change the results for myself. It's the same thing with anything. So it's just I don't know. I just had that little bit, little bit of power, a little bit of willpower, just to let me change something up to
Mm.
help me get through it. But again, not against. I probably need to go to therapy, but I haven't been able to find anyone that I feel like I relate to. And I have a hard time trusting people sometimes, and that's how it is. So, but I've been able to cope in different ways, at least for the meantime. But I'm and never. We all are still healing from stuff, and new things come up. But I think as we get older, we start to recognize the patterns, and we can at least maybe change our behaviors to change the pattern.
Yeah, I think I'm a more bigger fan of like change your actions because that can change your
Hmm.
like I'm big on mindset. Don't get me wrong, very important, very key. But
Yeah,
I think actions kind of dictate everything and rule everything.
for sure, for sure. Yep.
So yeah, I ain't gonna go down like the whole therapist route of that stuff. I ain't trying to nerd out.
No, but it's important whether you're an athlete or not. There's a like I said, that's one of my biggest purposes is I love the knowledge, I love the craft, I love the sets and reps, but it's this side of things. How do we keep going when things get hard?
Yeah, from hearing your story on the this viewpoint now, I see your business. Like everything you kind of walk through is like a pillar, I guess you can say, in your business. So like the missing link in your game was a combination of mindset and the physical skills. Okay, well, I could just talk about the sets and reps, but understanding like that's the missing piece you had that can help 10 other players out with the exact same thing. And so that's where your training kind of mirrors that. But instead of just kind of, uh, you can say like kind of sneaking it in there, it's very like, hey, this is what it really takes to have this level of performance. And so, how do you kind of balance not getting too deep sometimes into the mindset stuff and staying in the lane, but keeping it holistic so we getting the full package of everything the player can need?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I first see an athlete, we're not digging deep into their biggest secrets and their,
Yeah.
mental challenges in life. That comes over time where I don't ever push someone to tell me anything. That relationship is just going to evolve over time where it becomes a point where I do become, we're not just coaches. I don't see myself as just a trainer or performance coach. I see myself as many other things. A friend, a therapist sometimes. A shoulder to cry on or, a confidence boost. Like we're involved holistically in the athlete on all sides with them.
Mhm.
And so I balance it that way. Um, it's happening again. Can you repeat the question? Cut this part out.
I love this part so much. I might clip this and make this like the intro piece, both parts. I'm gonna do that. That's
I
beautiful.
get like way too deep into it and then I like literally just blank out and that's been my issue.
No, I'm similar because like I'll be going on talking with people and I'll go like on a tangent, but it's still tied to the main point. But I'll forget the main point and I want to get back and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I forget.
That was me. That was
Yeah.
me just now. And yeah. So we're not diving in like you were saying, how do I build the just repeat it.
No, how do you balance both sides of like sprinkling the mental and the mindset and everything, but
Yeah.
keeping the first things first with the strength?
Okay, yeah. So obviously, like when an athlete comes in and when I'm training an athlete, like what are their personal goals? What's their dream outcome? What are they looking to accomplish? And so it starts. The training becomes the vehicle and the platform
Hmm.
to help this athlete holistically at some point. But again, keep the main thing the main thing. Athletes are coming to you because there are some performance or physical limitators that they want to improve to get better, whatever their goal may be. Hey, I want to start on my basketball team. I want to get they have a specific timeline. I want to get a college scholarship. I want to, X, Y, and Z. Um, and so performance just becomes the language and it becomes the platform for everything else that they're going to get out of the experience. So, I just, anytime an athlete comes in, I go through like a full movement profile. And that is when we can kind of dive deep into conversations of like what their specific goals are. I try never to have an athlete come in and I don't know anything about them. I try to find some sort of information out there. You can look at their Instagram profile. You can look at what school they go to. You can look at all that stuff. If it's a professional athlete, like it's a lot easier because there's more information out there. But I always try to do my homework before an athlete comes in because at the end of the day, like they are here to get, better. They're here to get stronger. They're here to move better. They're here to feel better, like whatever it is. So they're trying to improve their performance and their health at the main base. And then everything else that we go through together in the journey, like that's just like a cherry on top. So the conversation starts out with like their goals and what they want to get better at, kind of where they are right now, and then where do they want to go, and how can I help fill that gap?
Mm. I'm gonna kind of jump backwards on this. You talked about how getting into the industry, you were like, this is probably one of the worst industries to get into, seeing how it's male dominated space as a woman. When at this point you have the resume, like it's not a question of if you know what you're talking about. Do you still have the fight of, oh, because she's a woman, I don't want to train with her? Do you still kind of have that issue?
All the time,
Really?
all the time, all the time.
Is it from the standpoint of because I'm a guy, she can't relate, or is it just because she's a woman?
I don't usually get the reasoning, but it's their own like whoever's saying those things, or like I ran into it all the time. Whereas like people would be like, I don't want my son or daughter, or whoever, like training with a woman. Or I don't want my
Yeah.
son training with a woman. I don't want um, I don't want them training with a girl at all because I don't know, their own beliefs and bias and all that stuff. I used to take it personally, now I don't, and I just try to keep moving forward, but even with the resume that I have and even saying that I've trained and I still do train NBA guys, and I have a whole list of, rosters, of athletes that I've been able to have a small part of, not to think that, I didn't, I'm the reason that they got there, like,
Mhm.
that's definitely not at all, I'm just a very small piece. Even with that resume, it still comes up 100%. That or I don't get paid what I'm worth. I don't get respected. I get taken advantage of still. So that's what I'm working on right now is because we didn't go to business school. We didn't learn skills and negotiation, negotiation skills or sales or how to stand up for yourself. Like, at the end of the day, we're I wanna put athletes at the end of the day, we're putting athletes through workouts, and that's where my passion is, and that's where I wanna go, but there's this whole other political side, and, everyone's like, "Just don't talk about it," or, like, I try not to think about that stuff, but it exists. Like, and I run to it every day, so, I'm gonna talk about it, and I'm gonna, explain my truth, but it's not gonna stop me from, getting to where I wanna go. Um it sucks. It doesn't feel great, but it's like you gotta keep pushing. But yeah, still to this day, like literally, like it happens all the time. I still get comments on my Instagram all the time, whether it's about my gender, whether it's about my appearance.
That feels crazy at this point because, especially if it's like someone saying they don't want their daughter to work with you, like that would be more incentive in my mind to be like, hey, there are certain, like, okay, I have a thing within me that I would love coaching on the girl side. I love it.
Yeah.
But my personal rule for myself, especially if you want me to be like over a team, coaching a girls team, I would have to have a woman with me.
Yeah.
Mandatory. Just because there are certain things I would never, ever, ever be able to understand it and just correlate with. Uh, and a frequent occurrence that happens every month. I cannot relate to that. So therefore, hey, you understand this better, Coach Jess. Go talk to them and you sort I'll stick to what I know, but that's your lane. Please go handle that better. And so dealing with what you're dealing with in the strength conditioning space and the performance space, I feel like that would make more sense because in my male brain, I just see you not lifting the weight that you lifted last week. And I'm just like, bruh, the numbers aren't adding up here. Why are you giving me this attitude? Why is X, Y, and Z? But your brain probably still goes there first. But then it's like, hey, is everything okay? And then you, whatever you need to translate in y'all language to say it, you're like, you sure you're good? And then she's like, yeah, this is going on.
Yeah.
And
It
you feel me?
helps. It helps with buying. Like, I definitely, like, I'm able to get that relatability fact, like, with the females and stuff, but also with the male players too. I'm not gonna say that it doesn't happen to where, like, my how I decide to um live, how I decide to dress, how I decide to look. Like, I can't lie and say that it doesn't affect my business because it does.
Mhm.
But you just find the really good people that don't care about that stuff. A lot of the honestly, a lot of the more professional athletes, um they love, like, working with females because we have way more attention to detail, and there's just, like, qualities that we bring and things like that, and so you just find ones that don't look at your gender and don't look at that stuff, and they just see the work, but like I said, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't run into that stuff consistently even with my resume.
It just feels kind of like I understand and get it, but it still feels crazy at the same time because of the
It is.
resume
Trust me,
and
I don't
because
wanna
of
be talking about it. I don't
yeah.
wanna be talking about it, but it's part of it, it exists, and I don't want other people to feel alone that, that I'm still stereotyped a lot.
Mm. What's like the biggest like judgment or misconception that you get at this point?
I mean, probably still, like, that I'm a woman and that I'm young and I don't know what I'm talking about, so I don't deserve, like, the same respect or the same paycheck as my male counterparts.
Mm. Have you kind of like I know you said you kind of pivot around it, but like what's the response and retaliation around, I guess you can say, of like, because I know a part of you wants to just be like, man, shut up because I can coach circles around you. But like, how do you kind of deal with the comments and deal with the haters and stuff like that?
I think in the beginning, like I said, it wasn't something that I was thinking that I was gonna have to deal with. I guess my how naive I was about the industry. Like, sometimes I wish I didn't know certain things, but now I just know it, as you get into this industry. So I definitely, like, was naive and just thought that I could, let it go. But it obviously did hurt at first, and, like, I did take it personal at first, but now I just, like I really just wanna be in rooms where people want me in the room, or I go and create my own room, which is what I've been doing. So I tried my best to fit into certain rooms and be in certain environments, and it just, like, again, the experience, I'm just very self-aware, I'm quiet, but I'm passionate and I rant about my job and stuff because I'm passionate about it, but you see me outside of anything, I'm pretty much to myself. So I guess that's a superpower is I'm just very aware of things, and so when I see something that doesn't fit, I just, I pivot. I in the beginning, like I said, I had to say yes to, like, everything. And there were times and there still are times where I get taken advantage of and I'm not respected. Now I'm able to know those things before they happen, before I put myself in that environment, because it's like I know how it's gonna go. I know how you operate. And so I'm not gonna put myself in those situations before, but I had to because at one point because I couldn't say no. I didn't have the luxury. I hadn't earned the right to say no. So you keep putting yourself in those situations and you still get things out of it, right? A bad opportunity or not a great environment or not a great culture. You're still gonna take things from it. To now where, like, I kinda know the warning signs and I'm just like, "No, like, I'm good, like, pass." Like, I wanna be with people that wanna work with me and that wanna invest with me and, like I said, see me for the work and, like, what I can do rather than what I look like or, um, how I dress or, how I act and that type of stuff. Um,
Mm.
Whether I'm whatever I am. Like, they don't see that. They see me as a human being. So, that's kinda where I'm at now. It's more for me, it's doesn't take, as much out of me emotionally. to just say no rather than saying yes, and it cost me so much emotionally. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. In my interview with Brie Garza, she had a story similar to yours of going to a conference and um,
Yep.
you know how it started because you're part of
Yep.
what you're doing too.
Yep. I'm doing
Uh,
it, and we're on that same journey, right?
yeah,
Like, it exists, you know, we gotta talk about it because it exists, and what she did and what I'm doing is we're just creating our own room, and it's gonna pay off because there's gonna be people that relate to that room, instead of trying to fit in. So, yeah, no, she's the best, honestly. She's been a huge role model for me. She holds herself with so much confidence. Like I said, the 5 people that you surround yourself with, honestly, like, from afar, she's one of those 5, that I look up to so much because she just keeps it moving and just has a ton of confidence and just, like, is she does not it doesn't matter who she's working with, she's given the same amount of energy to whoever she's working with, whether it's an 8-year-old or whether it's a pro athlete. And so I've learned a ton from her in that aspect is like, okay, we're just gonna create our own room, and that's what I'm doing.
yeah. Ever since I got the chance to talk with her, I've been more and more impressed just every time because I followed her before
She's a
and
goat, man.
I was like, dog, she's
She's a
already
goat.
killing it. She's fire.
Yeah. She's very underrated.
Oh, for sure. Like one of my favorite coaches that I follow, like
She's
hands
great.
down. I love
Yeah.
her, man.
I'll see her in a couple months. She came and stayed with me in Miami, and so we just like we bond over that stuff. We speak the same language. We already know what each other are thinking. Like it's just that, we're in it for that purpose. And she's just been able to really, make a name for herself and make a name for her business and really grow on the business side of things, on the, entrepreneurial side. And so I take a lot of stuff from her.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's just like her whole business model feels crazy to me. But at the same time, at some level of I want to do that too, in a small sense. Like I don't want to travel like she does. But it's just like, dang, that's crazy. What in your brain made you think to do that and to actually try it? Like it's crazy
That's
to me.
why like she has a goal and it's like she's going to figure out the how along the way, and that's how I've adopted as well too. Like I have no idea what's next for me. Like right at this moment, I have no idea. But we're going to do it. I'm going to figure out the how, just like when I moved from DC to Miami. Don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out along the way. Figure out the how along the way, but make that jump.
Mm. Yeah, I was just about to ask, like, what's the current goal that you're going after? Because I know you said you don't have a big long term thing, but anything right now that you kind of just like, okay, I will feel like 1 more % successful if I can have this milestone be hit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the type of person that likes to be versatile, like to do a bunch of different things. So, I'll speak at different conferences and things like that. I do train athletes like in person, but it's more of like a luxury thing where it's like I have earned the ability to maybe say no more often so I can like work with the clients that I want to work with. I'll still say yes to opportunities because like I'm always putting myself out there. I always have new goals to reach, but I'm able to, work with clients that really want to work with me and that want to respect my time and pay for my time and invest in my time because
Mhm.
they understand the long-term goal. Um, and so I'm still obviously doing that. But then I've always been pulled to teaching. I love to teach. And so now I'm kind of teaching, either young trainers or in the industry or trainers like that like are like me or that were in my position where we're putting in a lot of work and we're not really getting the results. I don't know how to, leverage my career. I don't know how to build my clients. I don't know how to actually make money in this space. I don't know how to transfer what I've learned from these generic courses or that I've learned from school. And I'm like not getting my athletes better. So I'm kind of like training aspiring athletes with a specific goal and a specific timeline rather than just taking random kids. And I was at that point where I was taking random kids for very
Mhm.
cheap. um, but now it's more that base. And then I'm also going again, as a coach, teaching other coaches that just want to be the best version of themselves and be the best coach that they can and actually make money in this industry. Cause I believe that we do not get paid enough for what we're worth, which has kept me on the private sector side. And I just believe that there's so many opportunities for us, and that we're more just than just putting athletes through workouts, or we're more than just sweat.
I think you've climbed up my list of like favorite trainers too and coaches.
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah. Cause like I already once again fan of you and what you've been doing. Um, but then just having throughout this conversation, seeing the similarities that we have with how it's like I'm leaning to like I'm the failed player turned trainer. Like all my failures I've had, the mental game I was lacking, I had knee problems and I never got to really be intentional about it, figuring it out. And it's like I was okay skill wise, but like now that I'm older and look back and I'm like, it was more attainable than I thought. It was easier than I thought, but I just didn't have the help around me to figure it out. Love my
Yep.
parents, they just didn't know. You know, I don't
Yep.
blame them. It
Very
just
similar.
yeah.
Yep. Very
But just
similar.
seeing the similarities we have, I'm like, this basically like my homie from around the way. We just got
Yep.
like we're
Yeah,
basically
and
twins, you know?
that's what this industry is about. Like, I really am I'm in it to help other people, help other, like, people that, like, where we feel relatable. Again, it's human for us to wanna belong and have community, and sometimes the entrepreneurial journey or just this journey and any journey can be really lonely sometimes. So the more people that you have, support system-wise, it never hurts. And so I'm just a big believer in that. So you can always, even if someone can't relate to me fully, there are little things and pieces that someone can relate to. And just so that we don't feel alone, because I felt in the beginning alone for so long. And now
Mhm.
it's like there are other people out there that care about this stuff,
Yeah.
um, and care more about the sets and reps. Like we're human. So yeah.
No, I really appreciate you, man. This has been a really good talk, really good conversation. Um, we didn't even talk any about sets and reps really, like at all. I thought we were gonna
No.
touch on it some, but we didn't. So it's
Yeah,
good. Okay.
happy to dive into it if you want, but yeah, I love conversations like this,
Yeah.
more so than anything.
Let's do one small piece here.
Cool.
All right. Biggest difference between training guys and ladies.
I don't really I know people like that's definitely a big perception out there, like I train athletes different. I
Mhm.
don't really, honestly, like I don't adjust anything too much in terms of like the actual like X's and O's of programming too much. I think that there's obviously different ways to communicate, I think, like,
Mhm.
communicate to females versus males and things like that, and what you can push and what you need to pull back and things like that, but I try not to separate that, like, when I train groups and things like that, like, there can be guys and girls, and I'm not changing the programming. I may change what they're doing based off of their level, like, more their ability, but I'm not necessarily changing the way that I'm training. Um, I think one of the biggest differences in terms of, like, physiologically is that females are obviously like very flexible and they have more risk for certain injuries than others. So I'm definitely like really big about filling those buckets,
Mhm.
where guys are like not as mobile, and they don't have much of a human bandwidth. And so that's kind of where like there's a switch in maybe what I'm doing. Um, but outside of that, like, I really try not to separate, like, when people say, like, "I want a program for a female," I kinda question what that means.
Hmm.
Because we're trying to get sport, right? Like, I'm trying to help them with their expression in sport, not necessarily what they look like, that's just, so I get it if it's but and maybe, like, time of the month, like, that type of stuff, just being aware of that. That may change. Like, I'll change, like, the volume or when they come in, they might not always feel the best, and so it's just, like, I might have to adapt a little bit more with a female in terms of what I give them. It is a little bit of a struggle to get buy-in from females. Me being a female, it helps, but, a lot of them 'em don't wanna get, like, big or bulky and think that what we're doing is gonna get them that, and I'm just like, "No, like, we're not training bodybuilding." You would have to be taking some stuff and working out 6 times a week to look like that, like, I promise you're not going to when you're only coming in twice a week, like,
Mhm.
um but then again, you have other female athletes that wanna be big and strong. So, it just kinda depends. Everyone's different in terms of the personality. So I really try not to separate it too much.
Mhm. Talk about some of the mental differences, because I think that's the only true difference, I guess you could say. Like, I understand the programming, pretty much the same thing. Like you said, the flexibility or mobility, it's going to be different. And then slight little goals, like guys want to have bigger arms, chest, little
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But what's more the mental difference? Like you touched on the fight or resistance of ladies want to get big and bulky, but is there something else, the mindset different that you have? Is it more of like, okay, you got to push them versus pull them? You got to do this or that? Was anything else different?
Sometimes it just depends. I think there's just like again, it's not a comfortable environment sometimes for like women to be in the weight room. And so I just try to create that best experience as possible, where they feel safe, where they feel accepted. Like we see that at regular Globo gyms where women
Mhm.
don't like to go into the weight room because of all of that. So I try to just create that environment where I just see everyone as an equal, and we're gonna get after it and that type of stuff. We're gonna work hard and just try to like communicate to them like the beliefs that they may have, like, weightlifting is gonna make me slow or it's gonna make me too bulky or I don't want to look like this or that. You just try to have like those conversations. I would say there's those conversations about image more than anything. Where males like they pretty much do want to like give me size, give me muscle, make me look good, feel good. Like there is that aspect to it. Um, so I would say that's like the biggest difference. Um, but yeah,
Mhm.
so I just try to like meet them halfway with where they're at, and include things that I know that they need to work on. Um, but not to, and then they start to, once they start to like see the progress and see, okay, I see how this is going, then those conversations become a little bit easier and now they're bought in. But at first, yeah, you gotta, whatever problems or pain points they have, you have to have solutions for. You got to be adaptable to it. So every athlete's going to be different, but that's a major one for sure, is having those conversations.
Mhm.
Yeah, or like even guy or girl, like weightlifting is going to make me shorter or like all that stuff, all the myths. So I'm debunking a lot of myths all the time, no matter with my resume.
What's the biggest myth that you still have to fight against? It's like, oh my gosh, we're still talking about this now.
How much time you got? Like, I guess I mean that those for sure, like that I'm gonna look big and bulky from lifting weights. Or this is gonna make me slow, or weightlifting is gonna make me slow, or lifting's gonna make me like injured.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton, but those are like the common ones that you get all the time, where
What's
people
like
like their
the
parents don't get it.
what's like the oddest one or like the funniest one that you heard? It's like, is my son or daughter gonna have to deal with this? It's like, mom, come on now. Like,
I usually suck at these type of questions because like I like I probably like as soon as we get off this podcast, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, this is the craziest thing I've heard. Like I've always sucked at those games, like where you have to answer something and like
mhm.
really quickly and like from like a memory or something. So I really can't come up with anything right now, if I'm being honest with you. Um, I'll have to think about it, but I don't wanna, like, take up too much time, but let me think on it, and if it pops up, I'll let you know. But no, I haven't heard, like I don't know, man, I don't think I've heard anything like I'm sure I have, but I can't, of
Mhm.
course, think about it in this exact moment.
I ain't mean to put the pressure on you and put you on the
No,
spot
I
like that.
suck at it, yeah. This is where the interviewing skills, like, I'm getting better at it.
Well, no, it's been a good interview. I've enjoyed talking to you, man. It's been cool so far.
Likewise,
Yeah.
likewise.
So, is there anything that you feel like I missed? It's like, man, he should have asked me this. We should have talked about that.
No, I think we hit it all. I think we hit like some truths and some realities of the space. And we have certain perceptions of people and we think we know someone and it's like there's a whole story and there's a whole journey and there's still a struggle. And there's still things that we're working through and we're not always perfect despite. So it's the same thing with like people that you look up to or athletes that you look up to. Like they're still human being. They're still going through like the aches and pains of whatever their lane is. Um, and to not give up and to keep going and continue to push the industry in a better direction. So that's why I love these conversations, because it's pushing the industry and it's showing the reality and it's helping people again like feel less alone. So I think he hit
Mm.
it all.
Okay, let's start on one more. What is like the biggest adjustment or change you wish you could see in the industry? Whether it's the respect that women should have of it, if it's how we're training kids, what's like the biggest shift that you wish you could see in the industry?
I mean, I hope we get to the point where, and that's where why I'm on still on the private sector side is, the financial aspect of it, just like, the women's basketball players and women's sports are trying to fight for what they deserve to be paid and what they've earned to be paid. And I think that we're in the industry where it's still like that as well too, where we don't get paid what we're worth. Like the fact that like a job opening for the Lakers for their strength and conditioning coach was 120,000 is crazy when it's a multi-billion dollar industry. And these are like multi hundreds of $1 million worth athletes individually. And you're only going to pay me that much. And I'm in charge of keeping them available and extending their careers and getting them more opportunities so that you all get more money. I think that's been the biggest fight is like I'll get offered jobs that are like, "Are you kidding me? Like, how do you think I can live off of that? Um, and you want me to do all this, and you want me to be the number one defense for injury mitigation or reducing that probability, and you want me to help their performance on the court so you all look better?
Mhm.
Gonna have to pay me a little bit more." So I definitely, I don't want to make it all about money, but I definitely don't think that we are paid in accordance to what we're worth. And I don't think that enough of us are prepared for the business side of things. I think in the strength and conditioning world and in school, there needs to be like public speaking and
Mhm.
communications and marketing and negotiating and sales and like learning the financial and money side of things and the politics and business side of things is super important because like it can't always be about the sets and reps, right? You might see coaches that get that and like they're just lucky, but for the majority of us, like that's been a skill that I wish that I was not prepared for and I wish I would have learned. And it starts with like in school.
Mhm.
But now there's so many resources out there. So I'm more focused on that side than I am on like I already know how to make an athlete better. Cuz I've done it over and over and over again, right? I've earned that right over and over
Mhm.
again. I'm still learning more stuff. There's always so much to learn, but what's the biggest gap for me is my offer and my sales and my negotiating and standing up for myself and knowing what I'm worth, saying no, but also like how to do it respectfully, how to do it professionally, how to advocate for myself. There's that whole other side. So yeah, I wish that, and that's what this, the mentorship that I mentioned, that's what part of it is teaching. Like 75% of it is knowledge and programming because you need to get your athletes results, you need to know stuff, but the other part is that is what
Yeah.
we don't learn. I'm reading a book right now, called What They Don't Teach You at Harvard Business School. So
No, I
even
saw that.
like in the business school side of things, like Harvard business side, like it's not going to actually like just because you have a degree in something doesn't mean you're going to be successful in it because there's a people side,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing.
Man, that's like an entire like 4 episodes right there, like really. Like I should have meant
Facts.
that.
Facts.
But man, we gotta cut this off at some point. So I think I'll do it right here. So
Sounds good. Yeah.
no, I appreciate you, man. You have a lot of offers. So you have the mentorship for coaches and trainers. You have your online training and you have the in-person training.
Yep.
I'll have a link to all that stuff below. Um, and anything else you want to leave the people with, man? Something that you leave an inspirational message for the kiddos out there.
For the kids, man. I mean, I guess on that same journey, like your identity is not tied to what you do. It's how you impact people. It's how you influence people. Focus more on growing down, and those things are going to naturally grow up for you. So by working more on yourself and having to quote Mel Robbins, have a good attitude for no reason at all, I think is a big thing. Keep working even when the work feels invisible. It's got to pay off at some point. I always imagine that meme of it's like the people in the mines that are with the hammers, and it's like if you were to just kept going and kept hitting the bricks brick by brick, you would have gotten there. But then people leave too early. Um, if that's if you know what I'm talking about, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That's my inspiration. That's the journey that I'm on right now. Is just keep plugging away brick by brick and focus on, developing yourself and not just chasing outcomes.
I love that, man. 'Cause so much of that I can relate to, and either me as the player or me right now as the trainer in business, I relate so heavily to it. So
Work
this
in
has been a good one.
progress. Yep.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. I appreciate you too.
Well, without further ado, let's get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. See you next episode.